everyone. We have Marianne in the cast today. Welcome to the podcast. Marianne is a certified psychologist. You've been practicing for over 30 years.
I have.
Serving Montreal and mainly in the West Island. That's where your practice is based. Thank you again for joining us. Ray and I have been looking forward to this discussion.
Me too.
Before we dive into our conversation, why don't you introduce your services, what you do, and how are you impacting our community with your work, and how you're helping people to overcome their challenges on day-to-day, etc.
Okay, that's a long list of questions,
Yes.
but so I'm Marianne Van Oyen. I'm a practicing psychologist for over 30 years, been in private practice for over 30 years, living my calling and my dream. I've been trained in so many different modalities, from CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So we're looking more at treating symptoms with coping strategies, looking also at automatic thoughts and mindset. Then I went into Gestalt, which is really looking at that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Taking personal responsibility, looking at feelings, dynamics, and basically becoming accountable for ourselves. So I really love Gestalt. It's very dynamic. Then I went into short-term psychodynamic therapy intensive, which was, this style of therapy was created by a Montreal surgeon who became a psychiatrist. So it has a very surgical feel. It's very precise. It's extremely intense. It's not something I use on a regular basis just because it's very structured. I'm more free flow, but I will use the concepts from it and some of the aspects just to acquaint people with their resistances, helping them make links between the past and the present. And my latest trainings were in EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing, which is helping people deal with trauma, processing anxiety. Very effective. Love it. Honestly, it's almost like magic. It really is. Anybody I've used it with to process traumas that get stuck in your vagus nerve. So what happens is when you've been traumatized, if you haven't had the chance to process that trauma, it lives in you. So you're minding your own business, doing your thing, and then somebody will say something or do something, and then you get triggered. And the triggered is usually very visceral. Okay. So you get all kinds of symptoms, from rapid heart rate, you might get frozen, you might spin, you might ruminate, avoid, attack. Depends on you and the trigger. So it's helping to process what got stuck in your brain and in your cells and in your vagus nerve, and allowing that trauma to move through you. It's not that you don't forget it, it's just that you don't respond the same way anymore. So I love that. I love that tool, and then been diving into a lot of spirituality and spiritual techniques.
Okay.
Like meditation, intuition, manifesting. And all of these things I've tried on myself. So I've experimented on me. I've done the short-term intensive. That was very intense. I've done work with Gestalt. I've done spiritual work with a medium friend for about 3 years. And thank God I started that just before COVID, because it really did save me during COVID, during that time of isolation when the world was, tipped off its axis, basically.
Yes.
And everybody was struggling, scrambling, trying to figure out what the new normal was going to be and how this was all going to play out. And we're all different. So again, depending on our past, our backstories, our histories, our coping strategies, our support systems, what have you, some people fared really well and other people didn't do so well.
Amazing. I must say, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time.
Thank you, me too.
And not taking away anything from any of our other guests, but the reason I was looking so forward to this was because I'm a huge believer in self-work, self-help. When I go to Chapters or Indigo, I go straight to the self-help section first. And there's a lot of things about manifestation and energy and psychology that I've implemented in my life that's gotten me out of very dark places, but gotten me to where I am both personally and professionally in my business life. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and that's amazing. So there's so many things I want to touch on, but first and foremost, I wanted to ask you, can you explain the difference? Because we talk about psychologists, but then you hear about psychiatrists, and then there's also like psychotherapists, and as you mentioned earlier, mediums. So you touched on mediums, and you're a psychologist, but can you explain the difference between a psychologist, psychotherapist, psychiatrist, and a medium?
I will do that.
Please.
First of all, I think we're all human beings, right?
Of
In
course.
any of those principles or roles that we play professionally or otherwise. So you always have to look at who's the person behind the title. Who are they? What are their strengths? What are their beliefs, values? How have they been trained? So I get that question a lot, not so much about the mediums, but what's the difference between a psychiatrist, psychologist, psychotherapist? So a psychiatrist is a medical doctor first.
Okay.
You have to be an MD,
Okay.
and then you specialize in psychiatry, which is mental health, but it's also pharmacology, because only psychiatrists can prescribe meds.
So a psychiatrist can prescribe antidepressants.
Anything,
But
Ativan, what
yeah.
have you. So can a medical doctor, by the way.
Of course.
But a psychiatrist is going to have a better handle on the different types of medications and what they can be used for.
Of course, like anxiety, depression.
Schizophrenia,
Bipolar disorder.
OCD,
Of
you
course.
name it. So how they apply that, though, if they're going to do therapy. So it's like a lot of psychiatrists, unless they're in private practice, are really not practicing therapy anymore. There aren't enough psychiatrists to go around. So when people ask me, oh, do you have the name of a psychiatrist that you can refer me to? I'm like, that is like finding a needle in a haystack, honest to goodness. And I'm connected in the community,
Yeah.
and I have trouble finding one. So poor people who try to find one. But even when they do, if they go through the system, through their doctor, get a referral.
Is that only in Quebec?
That's a good question. I think it's I know this market.
Yes.
I suspect it's happening across the country, but I can't tell you for sure.
Is there a reason for it? Is it because less people are going into that field in the medical profession? Or is it because there's not enough to go around based on how much help the population needs today in relation to back in the day?
Okay, so let's look at that. Whether you're a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, we know there are not enough of those people around.
Of course.
Is it that they don't want to go into that field? I don't think so. I think that's not true. I think there were quotas, and the quotas were stringent. It was very competitive to get in.
That's right.
So by eliminating potential candidates that would have been amazing therapists or amazing doctors, because there was a quota, so many couldn't get in. So when you do that, you narrow the range of professionals available, whether you're a psychiatrist, psychologist, psychotherapist.
So the system makes it difficult.
Yes. Look, do you have your own family doctor? Do you have a family doctor? Okay, I have a family doctor. I'm lucky. I got one through connection.
Yeah.
There's so many people who don't have one.
So I'm lucky because my family doctor is a client, a friend, and he's a GP.
There you go.
And his brother's a cardiologist.
Via connection.
Of course. His brother's a
Networking.
cardiologist that's also a client and a friend.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so at the end of the day, it's yeah.
But I do know a lot of people who are struggling to find family
100%.
doctors. A lot.
Correct.
Yes.
So if you have trouble finding a medical family doctor, and a psychiatrist is a specialized doctor, it's going to be even harder to get specials. So there's limited on, because there's constraints on who can get in, but then you have, I think, a brain drain where a lot of professionals have left this province, maybe even the country. They've gone to the US or other places where they can make more money. Maybe there's less restrictions,
Less bureaucracy.
yeah. What have you. So there's a number of features there. Then when you couple that with demand, now you have a problem. And we see it all over the place. Not enough hospital beds, not enough doctors, not enough nurses, the list goes on. But getting back to your question, what's the difference? So psychiatrist is a medical doctor specialized in mental health. Psychologist specializes in mental health. What they might do therapeutically, if they're actually doing therapy, like I said, psychiatrists today are not really, unless they are in private practice, because they don't have the time. They don't have the time to invest in patients. They have 10, 15 minutes maybe. How are your meds? How are you feeling? Okay, let's try this. They're doing, pharmacology basically.
Wow.
If they're doing therapy, you have to look at what's their training. Are they Gestalt based? Are they psychodynamic based? Are they psychoanalytically based? So when it comes to the actual therapy itself, same thing with a psychotherapist, by the way. You have to look at what is their training. Social workers too, by the way. Some of the best therapists I've ever known and worked with were social workers.
Yes.
Because of their training.
Yeah. But also the fact that, again...
And who they are as people.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but to get to know someone's problem is to invest enough time to talk to that person,
yes.
Right? But based on like a psychiatrist, she sees you for 10, 15 minutes and then prescribes medication. So how is this practice helping the patient if the root of the problem it's unknown by the psychiatrist?
Well, probably in the first meeting there would probably be more of an assessment.
Yeah.
So the session might be longer, right? To get an idea of what are the symptoms, how long has that person had those symptoms, what have they tried, what kind of medications have been tried, so that the psychiatrist has at least a fair shot at trying something that might work. But then the sessions will not be weekly. They might be monthly.
Wow, okay.
Or they might be every 2 months. It depends because the demand is so high. So in terms of therapy, again, you have to look at who's the person, what's their position like, how do you feel in their company, is there good chemistry between you and the therapist? Do they get you? Can you afford them? Is the style of their training and therapy going to be appropriate for you? There's so many variables to consider.
As a patient, how do you know which style you should be looking for? If I'm going to go and see a psychologist, as a patient, I personally wouldn't know what to ask. I'm just seeking help. I'm going through a trauma, or I'm going through anxiety or mental health. Can you help me? But I wouldn't necessarily know what questions to ask before I start working with that person.
That's an excellent question. So yeah, most people don't know, or they're going to hear. I hear that too, like, I'm looking for someone who does CBT. I'm thinking, okay, do they really know what that is? Do they understand what that means? Oh, I'm going to ask. I do CBT, but why are you asking for that? What is you're hoping to get out? Because I always want to know, what's the person coming for? What's their goal for the therapy? What do they hope to get out of it? Whether it's an understanding of themselves, coping strategies. My style, because I've been trained in so many disciplines, is not one fits all. I look at who's in front of me, I feel them, I sense, ask questions, listen, and then based on what they want and what's going on, I might say, and usually I launch in pretty quickly. We're already in it. I'm not going to have someone sit in front of me for 3 sessions, asking a whole bunch of questions off a checklist. I will ask what that person is presenting to me and how they're presenting and what they want. And then we're going to go into, okay, so why is that? And have you thought about this? And then I might suggest, based on what you told me, I suggest that you read this book. Or, I want you to do some journaling, or can we try this, or this is something I want you to try. I'll teach you how to do this. It's a coping strategy to deal with your anxiety, as an example. So I really want to know who's coming to see me and what do they need, and can I give them what they need? I'm only one person. I'm not I wish I was bewitched, right? Yeah. I would make lots of things happen, but I'm only one person. So I have to know, honestly, can I help that person? If I can, I'll just say, honestly, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. But usually at the end of a session too, I'll go, so how did you feel? Would you like to see me again? Never take it for granted. just because they made an appointment, they're going to want to see me. Most of the time they do. Sometimes they maybe, I have to think about it. I'm like, that's okay. Take your time.
Okay.
And even when people book, because I book up quickly, I'll say, you might want to book a few sessions in advance if I know I can't really maybe fit them in easily. But I always tell people, just because you booked an appointment with me, you're not committed to it. You can cancel.
That's the best.
You cancel.
We actually apply that to our business. So when I meet with a client, it's not a checklist. The first time I meet with them, it's a casual conversation. They show me around their house. I try to understand who they are, what their goal is, why they're looking to sell, why they're looking for a specific area to live in, what are the reasons, what are the motivations, what are the buttons that they want to press in life. And I think it's so important to be real, because we were talking before the podcast started in our green room.
Yes.
As we were saying, it's your energy will never lie.
Never.
I can wear a $3,000 suit to a listing appointment, but my energy won't lie.
Right.
I could walk in with a hoodie and my energy won't lie. One way or another, I still am who I am.
Correct.
So, it's amazing, because as self-employed, business professionals or business people like Ali and I are that are in real estate, a lot of us, what happens is we have fears and insecurities to ask questions like you just asked, which is, do you want to see me again? Yeah. Or ask for the business.
Right.
And that's what I try to teach brokers. You have to ask for the business and remove the fear and insecurity, because at the end of the day, it's a human transaction. It's not a number.
Everything's a human transaction. And I find for myself, and maybe you too, is that I don't want to look at pushing a sale. It's not about pushing an agenda. It's about an offering. I offer me, I offer my time, I offer my services. If you're interested, fabulous. If you're not, that's okay too. Find somebody else that fits you better, because you need to be happy. And I need to feel that I'm doing a good job. If I'm with somebody and they're not feeling me, or I'm not feeling them, or they have huge expectations I can't live up to, I'm going to put myself under a lot of stress and strain. That's not going to be fun for me. It's going to be very depleting.
It's so interesting you say that, because obviously only my clients know this, and I've never shared this, but this podcast, we're all about open conversations and being real. So there's one thing I tell all my clients when I meet them, specifically sellers, and I tell them, this is the biggest decision of your life. Don't let anyone rush you into it. And by all means, take your time. And I walk out. And I tell them, any broker that comes in here and rushes you, I'm sorry, is doing you a disservice. Yeah.
Listen to yourself. Listen to your gut. Does this feel right? Is there a match? Are you in alignment with your decision, in alignment with who you're dealing with, right? So, but again, if you trust that, which takes faith, by the way, and you have to repeat it to experience it. Yeah. You have to experience it to know it. You can understand it, you can read about something, get an idea of it, but until you've experienced something and you know it, it's just talk, So it's, whether you're an agent, a psychologist, whoever, it's an offering. I'm offering you this potential or this possibility, this service. This is how I work. Okay. I think I can meet your needs. What do you want? How do you feel about that? Exactly. And if the person wants it, great. They accept the offering. An offering is like a gift versus I'm going to take from you. I want to take your money. I'm going to take your business. It's like, that doesn't feel good to anybody.
No.
It shouldn't feel good to the taker.
No, because I always say this. First of all, people don't buy products and services. People buy from people.
Right, because
people buy people. Like they buy into their vision, their energy, who they are. And at the end of the day, I mean, like you said, and it's funny because in our industry, there's the overnighters that have a shelf life of a few years. And then there's the ones, Ali always talks to me about consistency. So there's the ones that are consistently great for 25 to 30 years. and we're still going to be around, and we're going to be old men selling real estate in the West Island, right?
And it's all about refining your skills and what you do every single day and being knowledgeable to help people on whatever you do as a professional.
Investment.
Yeah, absolutely. You invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself, invest in your business, invest in your dream, invest in your energy, invest in your health. Your clients are investing in property. It's investment. Is it a good investment for them?
So talking about investment and investing in yourself, one of, I think, the most discussed topic these days is mental health. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but since COVID, I find dealing with people is more difficult, challenging. Also myself as a business owner, I have tons of fear that I go through every single day because of financial responsibilities, my commitment to my business, to my life. And we talked about this earlier. There is and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to say anything that's, when it comes to mental health is a bit of a sensitive topic when it comes, to each one of us. I think, there are people who are going with, when you have like imbalanced hormonals and you have like severe mental health problem, that's one group of people. And there's another group of people who are just overwhelmed by day-to-day life and financial responsibilities, and it creates some sort of mental health, I guess. If you can just tap into this.
That's again lots of questions, but
yeah.
that's a huge question. And the thing is, mental health issues have been around since we've been around on the planet. Did we know what they were? I don't know. I believe in reincarnation. I believe I've lived many lives, but I cannot tell you what I experienced, 2,000 years ago. So, but it's not, if you're human and you have feelings and you have thoughts and you have behaviors, you have some kind of mental health dynamic. It could be a dilemma or it could be something you have under control, but it's always been around. It's just, I think, once upon a time, we were just in such a mode to survive that it was just about survival. So who has time for feelings? Who has time for, am I okay today? It's like, I need to save my life. I need to put food on the table. I need to take care of my children. So I don't have time. Families that have, 5 kids, 10 kids, who had time? No technology, no dishwashers, everybody was like working. And if you lived to 45, you were lucky. So there was no luxury, in a way, for mental health. For us to think about mental health now, in a way, we need to flip the lens on it, that we all have mental health issues, every single one of us, me included, because I'm a person, right? So we have to look at it in a way it's a privilege now that we can think about this. How do we now want to take care of that? And mental health isn't just, like I always say that we're a whole, right? A pie. Remember I said Gestalt is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We are greater than the sum of our parts. And our parts are thoughts, feelings, behaviors, family, relationships, work, interests, spirituality. We're all of that and more. And it all adds up to more. So mental health is impacted by our environments, people we hang out with, the people we live with, what we eat. Do we sleep? Do we not sleep? Do we exercise? Do we not exercise? Do we meditate? Not? Are we spiritual? Do we believe in God or do we not believe in anything? And checking in with ourselves should be our first thing that we do every day. Because if we don't have a relationship with ourselves, if we don't connect to us, our own selves, it's very hard to connect to others.
Love yourself first before you could love others.
You love yourself, or it's more than that. Let's look at self. What self-love is taking care of yourself. So check in with yourself. How do you feel? What's going on? What do you need? What do you want? What do you need to change? Where are you going? What's your day going to feel like? Is that too much for you? Are you overwhelmed because you're not managing your energy and your flow for the day? You're pushing yourself. You're not authentic. You're competing. You're chasing time. You're rushing. All of these things that jack up our adrenaline and make us move. But where are we moving? Where are we going? A lot of people don't know where they're going. They just, oh, well, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And they're chasing time, or they're chasing their kids, or they're chasing their money. But they're not in the pocket.
Yeah.
You know, they're not sitting in the pocket where, like, I know what my day is going to look like because I decided how it's going to roll out. And if so that's what I do. I visualize my day and that's going to feel like it's too much for me. Does it have to happen? No, I can take it out. Boop. I just created some space so I have more time to breathe. We have to breathe. If we're not breathing, then we're busy dying in a sense. Because we're not getting the right oxygen. We're not in our best mindset. If you're not getting adequate oxygen, you can't think straight.
That's right. That's true.
You're just either you're deer in the headlights or you're on autopilot.
Yeah.
And you're just rushing from one thing to the next, and then you do that day in, day out, day in, day out.
It's interesting. We can apply that to our business, where creating buffers, creating time.
Absolutely.
A lot of times we have back-to-back visits, or we have clients and meetings that go on, and then there's no buffer in between. But you realize, hold on a minute. In order for me to get from here to here, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And then I need time to, adjust and prepare. You can't just, be on all the time.
Can't.
And one thing that I started doing in my life is I have a morning routine. One of the things I do every morning is I meditate.
Me too.
It's a guided meditation. I sit in a very quiet room in my home before everyone wakes up. Mm-hmm. I meditate and I plan my day and I visualize and I manifest.
Yep.
And it's allowed me to be calmer. It's allowed me to process my thoughts and my feelings. And it's allowed me to be in a better mood with my wife, my kids, and just tackle the day kind of thing, And then obviously there's the physical aspect of it, which is working out. But, we're talking about creating buffers and creating time. I love what I do for a living, and I love the business. The one thing I have a hard time with is always being on. And in this business, we always have to be on. If Ali and I are at the golf course, we're on. If we are at, Fairview shopping for something, we have to be on.
Can I ask you something? What does that mean for you to be on? How are you when you're on?
So when I'm on, I have to be dressed a certain way. So what happens is if I'm going to an area where I know I'll bump into someone I know or a client, I'm not going to show up with flip-flops and a hoodie. Okay. Like, I'm going to make sure that I look presentable even on my days off.
Okay.
And I'm clean shaven or I've had a haircut, or it's almost like I forgot how to be a normal person. And it's funny because my wife laughs at me. She goes, are you going to start wearing a hoodie and sunglasses like a celebrity and walking around? But the thing is that in our business, when your face and your ads and your listings and your marketing is everywhere, and we send out 10,000 flyers a month to 10,000 households. Mm-hmm. When you're in that area and you're shopping for milk, or you're buying your eggs and your bread, or you're at Renault Depot or whatever, you're going to bump into a lot of people Yep. And you have to be on. Because in our business, what do people do? They walk up to us and they never ask us how our day is or what's going on with our kids. They ask us, how's the market?
That's right.
That's the first question everyone asks. Whether they know you, they don't know you, they recognize you, they've done business with you, they'll ask you, how's the market? And nowadays, it's when are interest rates going to go down? So you're on. And all of a sudden you're talking business, right? And what happens with that is that I always say this, and I say this to a lot of people, being on all the time is exhausting.
Very.
And I was talking to a broker at our office a few weeks ago, and he said, I love this business too, but I don't like always being on. And I looked at him and I said, you and I both. Yeah. It comes with the territory, but it's something that really we need to manage it effectively, because it affects, for me, I can't speak on behalf of Ali or others. For me, it affects my mental health.
Oh, for sure. Because if you're on, what's happening is you're not playing a role, but you're very self-aware. You're going to be self-conscious, conscious of self, right? How you're presenting yourself. But there will be an injection of adrenaline in there because you're performing in a way.
That's right.
That adrenaline is a drug. You want to watch that it's not circulating in your system too much, because that will drain you out. That could lead to burnout for people. I'm not saying you're close to burnout, because you meditate, you do a lot of other things, which is amazing. But that's what's happened to a lot of people. The adrenaline's just coursing through their veins day in, day out, day in, day out. And especially if they're doing something they don't love, and they're not checking in with themselves, and they haven't checked into their internal GPS, and they don't know how their day's rolling out, how to breathe, take time, buffer, as you said, and have their downtime to balance it out. So when somebody keeps going in full throttle on adrenaline, that's when they'll often hit the wall, and then they're burnt out, and they can't do much. Because your body will never lie to you. Their body's talking to them saying, yeah, you didn't hear that little pebble when we said, watch out for that little warning, that symptom? I'm going to throw a rock at you now to get your attention. No, so you didn't listen to that? Okay, now we're going to slam you with the boulder and stop you in your tracks. Now you have no choice. But you have to now pay attention to your health. You're going to have to rest. You're going to have to set boundaries. You're going to have to learn all these skills. But I know that some people have said to me, oh, my body's failed me. I go, your body failed you, or you failed your body? You failed your body. How? Not because you wanted to, because you didn't pay attention to the symptoms, because you're not paying attention to how you feel. You're not paying attention to yourself. And again, if you can't, it's like on the plane, with the masks that come down, the parent puts the mask on themselves first, because you are useless if you put it on your child first. The instinct is to protect your child. But if your child's protected and now you don't have oxygen and you're dying, what's your child going to do? So we have to protect ourselves. We have to pay attention to ourselves, take care of ourselves, nurture, whatever nurture is for you, and nourishment. And if you can do that, if everybody did that, oh my God, it would be a different landscape on the planet. It really would be. But we're waking up to that more and more now, because we've been put in circumstances like COVID, which has, changed a lot of things in a lot of ways for many people. Where now it's, whoa, it forced us, many of us, to step back and go, what's my life about? What am I doing? Is this what I really want to do? If you had the luxury to do that. Some people did not. They just went into panic mode, and they just had to survive. And like I said, when you're in survival mode, you don't have the time to check in with yourself. Hence our ancestors. It was just about survival.
Okay.
So it was a long answer.
No, but you talk about being on all the time. I listened to something not too long ago, and it resonates with me. Like in sales environments, right? People who go far in their career or have a happy life are not the ones who are very smart or with the highest IQ, but the ones who actually they learn how to manage stress. I think managing stress is our weakest point. We are overwhelmed with our daily tasks. When you have family responsibilities, when you have financial responsibilities, we are overwhelmed. But if you can manage that stress, it allows you to operate with clarity, without panic, and every move that you do is calculated because you're thinking with clarity.
For sure. But then let's go back another step. How did that person get into all that stress?
Yes.
Yes.
What decisions did they make? Were they mindful? Most people are not mindful. They're reacting. I need that. I want that. I'm going to have 3 children. Have you thought about what 3 children would be like for you?
Yeah.
Have you thought about the spacing of them? Have you thought about how can you afford them? Do you have the energy for that? A lot of people just go into things without thinking about it. Marriage, who you pick to marry, where you live, how you live. I was just talking to Alessa in the car, and we were talking about traffic. I said, I don't do traffic. I've never done traffic. It's a waste of my time. It's stress. So I would pick places where I could live that were either close to my office,
Yes.
or I was going against traffic.
Yes. Okay.
And now with COVID, one of the blessings of COVID is I can work a lot more remotely, which was actually one of my goals anyways. It just got, supercharged. But I still go in the office 2 days a week because I like the human contact. I don't want to be in a box all day long on a screen. It's great. It works. It helps a lot of people who are not as mobile, or they've got really big jobs and they don't have the time to drive to the West Island and go back. That's 3 hours of their day. That's a waste of their time.
So basically you're saying that stress is created from the action we take.
Correct.
Okay.
We create our own stress.
Own stress.
Yeah.
Yes.
By not thinking about what we're doing,
Yeah.
not making, deliberate choices.
Yeah.
By not tuning in with ourselves. Are we able to do that? Does that make sense? From the smallest decision to the biggest decision, and our mindset.
That's right.
Because if we're like, oh, that's terrible, that's too much, it's like, okay, wait a minute. How can you look at this differently? Well, I'm blessed, actually. I have my 3 kids. I'm blessed. Why am I complaining about it? I created them.
That's right.
So why don't I enjoy them? How can I enjoy them better? Well, I need more time. Well, how do you get more time? Well, why don't you change what you're doing for a living? Or why don't you cut back? I don't know. Why don't you sell your big house that you don't need? That's creating so much stress, and your country house and your 5 cars. And I'm exaggerating, but there are some people who live like that. If you
But
can
you're tapping into your reality.
If
This
you
is reality.
can afford it and you love it, fantastic. But if you can't, what are you doing? What are your priorities?
I'll tell you what happens. Wow. I shouldn't be telling you what happens. You should be telling me.
You tell me. No. But you see, this is the way I work too. I work as a team with my client.
Yes.
I will not sit
Yes.
here and tell you I know more than
Of
you or
course.
I'm better than you.
Yeah.
I'll never do that.
Yeah.
I learn a lot from my clients. I'm humbled. And I really, truly, from my heart, I'm going to cry, very grateful for
Yeah.
the people who come to work with me. Because really 90% of them are spectacular individuals. And when I see the light on in their eyes, and when I see that somehow I've impacted them or they've impacted me, and I've cried sometimes in sessions just because I'm so touched,
Yes.
then that's a win.
Well, also, if you're vulnerable and you're crying and you're showing your emotions, they're more susceptible to showing their emotions. They're opening up to you as you are being emotional with them, right? It's energy. We're coming back to the energy aspect of everything.
But
Your energy doesn't lie.
Exactly. That's it. It's authentic.
Yeah.
And so to your point, I'm going to circle back to you were on all the time. You might want to try just doing the hoodie thing with the flip-flops.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And put the smile and just go, hey, and in like whatever, and they're like, oh my God, Raymond, like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, you never know. They might, wow, I love that look on you.
Yeah.
Or how's your weekend?
I think you should.
Yeah, I mean, look, I usually look good in everything I wear,
I'm
but
sure you do. Listen, see,
Yeah.
so you could probably go out in your boxers. You might get a few extra
Well, I
looks.
mean, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if you take pride in how your hoodie and shorts probably
Yeah.
looks as good as your Armani suit.
that's right.
It's just different energy. It's just different.
So it is. I think it's just the way, because I come from the corporate world.
Okay.
So, and Ali and I talk about this all the time. It's all so interesting. Every podcast we have, it always ties back to conversations him and I have already had before we even had a discussion or idea of starting this podcast.
Right.
But long story short, one of the things is that I come from the corporate world, and the corporate world is extremely structured.
It is.
And I wouldn't be caught dead walking into the office wearing a hoodie Monday to Friday.
But that's a different environment.
I agree with you. But I am wired to wake up at a certain time, go into the office with a blazer on and my dress clothes and an overcoat, and open up my laptop, have my coffee, and then, start working on everything structurally, get back to clients within a structure. There's a lot of people in this business, unfortunately, that wake up and they say, well, it's another week this week, and after I go to the gym today, I better sell a house. There's a lot of people like that.
I bet.
You know what? If they want to do business that way, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. That's their life. That's their business. Mine is extremely structured. I always say there's two types of brokers in this business, or two types of business people. There's the ones that wake up and say, oh my God, I need to sell a house. And there's the ones that are running businesses.
Yep.
Okay. So trying to be on all the time, you're right. When I'm not on, and you know what the interesting thing is? I actually had this conversation with my wife where she's like, I love road trips. So she goes to me one day, she goes, why do you love road trips so much? Like, you always want to, let's go to Toronto, let's go to New York City, let's go to Vermont, let's go to Quebec City. And it's always a road trip. And I said, because when I get in the car and I leave, it's the only time I can be off.
Ooh, so you need to give yourself, honestly,
Yeah.
give yourself more permission to be off. Because I can say the same thing when I go into the office,
Yeah.
right? If I'm seeing a client, there is that. I know what that feels like. Okay, I'm on, right?
Yeah.
I got to be on. But when I do that, I've already put pressure on myself. And that pressure creates stress.
Yeah.
Okay, you need a certain amount of stress to perform. You really do.
Yeah.
If you don't have any, then you're kind of just all over the place.
That's right.
But you need just a touch of it. But then it takes more energy. Whereas when I go into a session, and I've been doing this for years, where I like, no, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to focus on my client. I'm going to be very present in the moment. And the universe, I swear to you, is going to channel to me where I need to go. I'm not on. I'm with you.
Let go and let God.
Exactly. Let go, let God. And I am with you in the moment. So when I do that, I relax, I breathe, I focus. I'm not performing. I'm sharing and I'm listening. And it's a different energy. And for me, I walk out way more relaxed. I have more energy in the end. And usually I've had a very good session. And in that quiet moment of just come to me with messages, it's intuition. I could be with somebody and then I go, oh, ask them this question. Mm-hmm. And I write it down. Or I go, oh, I have an impression about something, and I check that out. Invariably, within minutes, that person said something to me, and I'm like, that's so interesting. I just wrote to ask you that question, but you're giving me the answer before I ask you.
So that's what psychologists are always writing.
Yeah.
Well, no, you have to write. No, they're not writing intel. Most
Yes,
of them are not.
That's right.
They're not. But we have to write
That's
notes.
right.
That's
Yes.
a requirement by professional law.
So the way you said being in the moment and being present and focusing on the patient or the client in front of you, mm-hmm. Coming back to, being on or our industry, something, I'm a huge hockey fan and a fan of the Montreal Canadiens. Mm-hmm. And I was recently listening to people in the media, and they were saying the problem in Montreal with these athletes is not that they don't like being criticized. They get misunderstood because we see them as an athlete that should always be performing, always be on top of their game, be robotic, and they're not human.
Right.
But no one takes the time to ask them when they're having a down year
mm-hmm.
or a few bad games, is everything okay? Is there something else going on? Mm-hmm. Like, does your wife not like living in Quebec? Is it too cold here? Are your kids not, doing well in French school? Are you having, mental health issues?
Myriad of issues.
Exactly. And you're seeing more and more athletes now mm-hmm. are starting to enter player assistant programs, not for substances like alcohol or drugs, but more for mental health.
Yes.
And 10, 15, 20 years ago, if an athlete went out in public and said, I'm taking a step back from the game for mental health, they looked at him as weak.
Weak, soft, you're soft, you're weak.
That's right.
And that's a problem because we're then pushing people to the brink or pushing them to illness.
That's right.
Pushing them to breakdown,
That's
to
right.
burnout. And why? Because then, yes, athletes get paid a lot of money professionally, but they also work their cookies off to get there. It's part of the game, right? But they're commodities.
Yes.
That's a problem. When you see people as a commodity, we're not seeing them as
As a
human
number.
beings with thoughts and feelings, right? And the whole, like I said, the whole mental health thing is not just about your mindset. How are you feeling emotionally? What are you thinking about? What are your relationships like? Do you have any kind of spiritual practice? Are you taking care of your body? How does your body feel? It's multi-levels. It's not just one thing. Mental health is everything.
So talk about weakness. Is our society making us weak?
Well, define
The Western society.
define weakness.
I mean, we talked about this earlier about the fact that we have access to too many things, right? You go to a restaurant, you have access to 20 items on the menu. You don't know what to choose. You want to go and buy a vehicle, you have access to the fact that we have access to a lot of choices and we live in a very comfortable society, are we becoming weak because of that? We talked about survival earlier in third world countries, how they don't have much, but all they know is they have to wake up in the morning and basically make their needs happen. They have to they strive for survival basically.
Right.
Versus here, I find in the Western society we have access to too many options that also could affect our mindset and the way how we see things.
So does it make us weak? See, if weakness is a you're looking at it as, are you tough because you need to survive? Remember I said for us to look at our thoughts and feelings and our mental health is a privilege.
Yeah.
Privileged societies get to do that if we look at that. So do we just want to be tough and strong? No. Do we want to be strong? Yes. How can you be strong? You can be mentally strong, physically strong, spiritually strong, have strong networks, have strong relationships. So our choices, we're blessed to have a lot of choices, but we talked about that a little earlier, like analysis, through paralysis through analysis, where then people don't want to make a decision because the fear of missing out, right? If I do that, then I can't do that. I can't. Stop. Because too many choices can be also very distracting. And if somebody's constantly distracted, they're not tuning into themselves, and then they're more easily manipulated by media, society, what have you. You've lost your control. Not control over anyone, over yourself. So come back, same thing with technology. People are addicted. They're slave to technology rather than saying, hey, wait a minute. Because the way I like to see technology is, oh my God, that's incredible. That's magic. That's a tool. It makes my life easier because I put boundaries around it. I make it work for me. So whatever choices I'm going to decide on, are they the best choices for me? Why do I want that choice? Am I just reacting or is it deliberate? Am I thinking about it? Am I reflecting on it? Have I done it, my own little analysis, not to paralysis, but to actually make discerning decisions that are in my best interest or for the greater good? So again, it's how you approach it.
Two things on that. First off, before I forget, I'm a believer of indecision is the worst decision. So basically not being able to make a decision. So we're talking about analysis, paralysis by analysis. So not being able to make a decision is the worst decision. Either make a decision to do something or don't do it.
Correct. And what I call that's an energy robber, by the way. Vacillating, do I, don't I?
Yes.
I always tell people, okay, you don't understand. Your do I, don't I, which you're not making a decision, is robbing you of your energy, but it flies below the radar.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is you're not noticing how much it's draining you out. So I always tell my clients, okay, so here, we've got this carpet, we've got flower here and a flower here. If I asked you to stand up and go step on flower blue, now go to flower red. So make this decision, that decision. Keep going. You can do it for 10, 20, 30 seconds and you'd be like, oh, okay, what's the point of this, right? Oh, no. Keep going. What? Keep going.
Exhausting.
Do I, don't I? Don't. After, and then, let me now, after you've done that for a few hours, right, I'll come back and see you. I'll spin you around now, make you super dizzy. So now you can't see straight.
And then do it again.
And then do that. Keep going though. Keep going.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to you? You're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
And you're
absolutely.
going to be so exhausted and so confused that you're not going to make any decision. Better to make a decision, even if it's the decision not to decide.
So when
is a decision.
When I have a hard time making a decision, the decision's usually no. Like, should I have that chocolate bar? No, don't,
Right.
But something greater than that, if you're between should I or shouldn't I, most of the time you shouldn't, because you weren't able to gravitate towards yes, I should. I mean, it could be good or bad, right? It's just the way I view things, you know, like, I don't know, should I speed or shouldn't I speed? Because I need to get to the recording of the podcast this morning on time, and I need to be there early, and so on and so forth.
She said something earlier about consequences.
Yes.
Right? Think about the consequences first before
Yes.
you make that decision.
Right. But also if you tuned in, like,
Yes.
okay, so I need to be somewhere by 8 a.m. I need at least 2 hours to myself in the morning to meditate,
That's exactly
to
what I
chill, to whatever. So if I'm going, I need that amount. So that means I have to get up then at, 5:30 or whatever. Okay. So I do that. Then I'm not rushing. I don't have to do the, should I speed or not? Oh, no. We're not speeding because
basically
I've given myself the
We're in control.
time. Right.
So Ali and I talk about that because he gets up really early, and I've started doing that as a part of my morning routine. I try to do it 5 to 6 times a week. There's usually one day a week that I'll sleep in, or
Why not?
be the guy in the hoodie,
Yeah.
in bed.
But why not? Because otherwise, what's your life about?
Exactly.
Is it always about performing?
To be honest with you, that's why I've hit a wall and I have burnt out, by the way. It's because I was constantly under the impression, there's 2 things I'm guilty of. 1, constantly having to perform.
Yeah.
And 2, not differentiating a personal relationship from a transaction.
Right.
So my friends who became clients but were clients, they were no longer friends. And then clients were clients, and the ones that wanted to be friends, they weren't friends, they were clients. So you can't really differentiate, It's almost like everything becomes a transaction. So just like we see athletes as a number, all of a sudden in business we're looking at everything as a number. But it's not proper. Now, coming back to the mornings, what I've noticed by getting up earlier is it allows me to not only be in charge of my day and my mental health and where I see myself going physically, emotionally, and mentally throughout the day, but what happens is all of the things I need to take care of before I hit the road get taken care of, so then the ball is in the court of the person receiving.
Right.
So if I wake up and I have my routine and I have my liter of water and I have done my meditation, and then I check my emails, my text messages, I take care of what needs to be taken care of. Once I'm at the gym, for that hour and a half, I know that there's nothing pressing that I have to take care of because I've taken care of it. So if someone is waiting for me to get back to them in regards to an email or a notary appointment or an offer or a counter offer, if something needs to be done or delegated, do it before the business day starts.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
So you've thought it out and it works for you, so you have a flow. And so answer your question too about stress. We all have stress. Some have more than others. Some create more than others. But it's always about, do you want the stress to be on you, or do you want to be on top of your stress?
That's exactly what I mean.
And being on top of your stress means that means giving yourself time, visualizing your day. What are your priorities? What routine works for you? Can you breathe? Do you have buffers? Do you let yourself be off? So you might want to experience that. I swear to you, you might be very surprised if you go to places and you're in your hoodie, or you're just like, no, I'm gonna wear what I feel like wearing. That's how I dress, by the way. Like, this is thrift shop, okay? But I'm like, you know what? I don't really feel like wearing that off-white outfit. And the black, I'm not feeling black today. And there would have been a lot of dark colors here. So I'm like, nah, I'm gonna put on my thrift shop top or jacket, because I like it. So I just dress the way I feel. And if I do that, then I'm in alignment with myself. If I was to put on, let's say I have this great dress I was considering, but it's a little tight, it's a little too kind of fancy. And then I'd be feeling like I'm sitting here stuffed in this dress and just not feeling comfortable. I got to feel comfortable.
So that's interesting. When we started this podcast, the first episode we were going to film was at this location. Mm-hmm. And I think I went through like 3 or 4 different wardrobe changes before getting into my car and driving to downtown. Yeah. I was second guessing everything. Yeah. Should I wear a blazer? Right. Because that's who I'm known to be Monday to Friday. Right. And this is a real estate / lifestyle podcast, but it's corporate. And I need to be perceived a certain way. Then I throw on a sweater. Then I'm thinking hoodie, because I see people doing podcasts in hoodies all the time.
Then he texted me.
What
are you wearing, mate?
Yeah, then I texted him. And he goes, that's not a question I'm usually asked. What are you wearing?
That's funny.
In the morning. So yeah, I'm like, I've never asked a guy this, but what are you wearing?
But you see, but that's real.
Yeah.
That you had a need.
Yeah.
You went to find out the answer.
Yeah. And since that day, I'm able to get up, put on whatever I need to put on, and come in, because I'm like, at the end of the day, I am who I am, and this podcast is going to be what it becomes. Yeah. No one is going to not watch the podcast if I wear a V-neck t-shirt under my sweater rather than a blazer. Right. I might show up in a baseball cap one day. Yeah. I might wear a hoodie one day. In the summer, I might be wearing a t-shirt. Yeah. It's just Ali and I spoke about this on a few occasions. There's a perception and perspective. Yes. And we live in a society right now where perception is everything. Mm-hmm. Fake it till you make it is everything. Social media.
Hate that term.
I agree. Really and actually, it's so funny you say that. I've heard fake it till you make it. And then I recently heard someone say, when you make it, continue faking it. And I looked at them and I was like, you're going to live your whole life like that? Yeah. You're going to fake. First of all, don't fake it till you make it. Be yourself.
Be yourself.
And then if you make it to where you want to be, your make it, Ali's make it, my make it, and the awesome guys from 5 Pound here, their make it might be different from one another. That's right.
Right. Again, it's not one size fits all.
Exactly.
If we all were going to be the same, doing the same thing, living the same, how interesting is that? It's not interesting.
Exactly.
And there's no way that that's authentic for everybody.
No, because your energy, I'm a huge believer of also your energy introduces you before you enter a room.
Energy meets energy first. And you asked, I didn't answer in the medium question. What's the difference? Medium is, they don't go to medium school. They don't get 5 certificates. They might do some training on spiritual development. So again, but a medium is there to work with you, what they sense from you, guide you. And if it resonates with you, fantastic. But what I've learned about that from my medium friend is that energy meets energy first. And it's so true. I can think of somebody, a client maybe that I haven't seen in like 10 years. And inevitably, that person is contacting me within 48 hours. I'll get an email, a call, and I'm like, damn, I was just thinking about them.
So that's so true, actually. Go ahead.
It's so true. No, but what happened, my mom used to say this to me when I was younger, and it would always happen to her, and it happens to me as well. I think of someone randomly,
Yes.
as I'm parking my car at Fairview, I walk into Fairview and I end up bumping into the person.
Yep. There you go.
It could be someone that I haven't seen in 2 years or I haven't spoken to.
Yep.
It actually happened to me yesterday. I was thinking of a client. We became good friends, and we spoke last November about listing his parents' home. And he was in my mind yesterday and the day before. And fair enough, yesterday morning, I get a text from him. Hey, Ali, are you free on Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
So
There you go.
Happens all the time.
That's
It
also
is.
manifestation.
yeah.
What's manifestation? Manifestation is your thoughts or intentions are lined up with what you are feeling in your heart space and what you truly want. So you need to be specific. You need to feel what you want. You have to know your why, and you have to be focused. I mean, you have to do your part, and then things manifest. There's science behind manifestation. If you want to know more about that, just read any of Dr. Joe Dispenza's stuff.
You actually told me to get a book, Breaking the Habits of Being You.
Being yourself, yeah.
Excellent book. And I believe on chapter 3 or 4, he breaks down how to meditate.
Right.
It's a great book
I gotta
for
read that.
anyone who's looking for a psychology book. That's a really good one.
Because it's psychology, it's your health, your well-being, but it's how to create magic. It's manifesting is a form of magic, and we all have the ability to do it. We just need to know how,
That's right.
and we need to take the time to do it, and we need to believe. If you do not believe, you're throwing doubt into the equation, and it's not going to happen because you're blocking. We have to watch how we block ourselves through doubt, through fear, through hanging out with the wrong people, through not taking care of ourselves, not having that quiet time, not having an idea of what we want in our whys, addiction, what bad habits. Those are ways to block the magic that's suspended out there.
Hanging out with the wrong people.
Yeah.
Yeah, associating with the wrong people.
Show me who your friends are. I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah, you're the average of the sum of the 5 people you associate with the most.
Pretty
You know,
much.
there's certain meetings or get-togethers, like I'll have lunch with Ali, or we'll get together once every few weeks outside of this podcast, outside of the office, and you know, I leave completely energized. I leave motivated.
Yes.
I leave with ideas. I leave with, you know, a breath of fresh air, a smile on my face. And then there's certain people. It doesn't matter who they are, but you literally feel drained.
Yeah.
Even if you talk to them on the phone,
Right.
you know, you feel drained, and you feel, you know, it's a sunny day, but it's cloudy,
Yep.
you know, and coming back to manifestation, I'm a huge believer of law of attraction.
Yep.
I believe that a lot of my life has been designed based on the law of attraction and what I ask, believe, and received. Mm-hmm. So I asked the universe, I believed it's possible for me, and then I received it. But I also aligned myself
Yes.
in those things. I'm also not the person that sits at home on a sofa thinking that checks are going to show up in the mail.
That's not
You
how.
know?
Yeah, that's how people have this idea of, oh, you just say you want that, it's going to happen. No, it's about co-creation.
That's right.
What are you doing on your part to make it happen, and then how are you using the energy of the universe or what have you to work with you? So you work, and if it's, I believe, if it's really meant for you, it's going to happen.
That's right.
But if you're block, and you're not blocking, but you're being blocked, it's like, pay attention to that,
That's right.
because it's a form of rejection.
That's right.
And rejection, I've learned, is redirection and protection. And if I look back and go, oh, so good that didn't happen for me, because then I would not be here. Or now I understand why I got that no, because that
door closed. And
that was not in my best interest. This is better for me. And when I feel like I get an idea and I'm like, oh my God, I'm lit up, and it's a knowing and it feels true. If it feels true, that's pretty much what I need to follow. And if I follow that truth, right, then my eyes are open, my heart's open, and I'm looking at how do I navigate that? And if it's If it's just like green light, green light, green light, green light, when you get all the green lights, it's a great feeling. You go, flow. Then it's like, I'll keep going until maybe there's a block or there's a new path that's opened up.
That's right. Okay.
So I'm all about creation. I love creation. I'm a creative being. That's what I am. That's what I do in my work. And now I'm writing books and whatever I do, it's about whether I buy something from a thrift store or I do something different with, I don't know, a chair or whatever. If it's creative, I'm happy.
What are some of the if you have someone comes into your practice today who's overwhelmed with life, what are some of the tools that you tend to give them while you see? I mean, you tend to see your patients for once a week, once every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But for the meantime, you tend to give them some tools that they should be practicing right away.
Again, it depends on what's the issue. I was like, what are your issues? Like, what are you coming for? If it's stress, then it's like, oh, what's causing the stress? Where's that coming from? And then I might say, okay, well, wait a minute. And generally, I will lead people after a first session with, okay, what needs to change in your life for you to be happier? That means you have to sit with yourself and actually think about it. You have to ask yourself those questions. Well, if this changed, I'd be happier. If that, and they can be small things. Maybe I need to go to bed earlier. Maybe I need to cut sugar. Maybe I need to apply for a new job. Maybe I need to get out of that relationship. Okay. What did you come back with? And then how can we start getting you there? Because then if the person identifies what they want, not what I want for them, what do they want? Then we can go to, okay, how can we get you there? If there are blocks, well, what's the block? If the person, well, because I don't think it's going to happen. I don't believe it. Oh my God, you're in your way. You're in your way. And I'll tell you how you're in your way. How are you going to make something happen if you don't believe it? Because to your point, I say not seeing is believing. Believing is seeing. Believe and receive. So then I might look at, okay, oh, you need to manage your stress. We're going to learn some meditation. We're going to do relaxation exercises. Maybe suggest going out in nature, doing some exercise. So I really want to look at what does that person need to change in their life to feel happier so that I can help them create the map to get where they want to go.
I hear a lot of meditation and, we're talking about this and so, and I meditate, and I need to meditate every single day. I don't do it every day. I try to, I always have a good intention to commit to it. I will do it for day 1, 2, 3, and I feel great. But then,
What stops you? What gets in your way?
Not planning my day properly. Okay. I think that's number 1.
But do you have an expectation of what you should be doing when you're meditating?
So when I do meditation, I have this app called My Space. Mm-hmm. So it's a guided meditation, and they have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Now they've expanded. They've put a lot of guided meditation in the app, so we have choices there. But every time I meditate, I feel good. And I have no excuse. I should be doing it because it does benefit how I feel.
Should, and see, to your point too, should or want?
Yeah.
Because if somebody says I should meditate, I go, okay, now substitute that with the word want. I want to meditate. If it's like, yeah, I do want to. It's not a should, I want. Oh, okay. So then what's getting in your way? If it's, I didn't plan enough time in the morning to relax into that, great. Or I'm picking a meditation that's too long and I'm like, hurry up. Stop. Because meditation can be as simple as go get your coffee, sit in silence, close your eyes, and just breathe.
Breathe, yes.
2 minutes, 5 minutes, just tune in and go, how am I feeling? How's my body feeling?
Sit with your thoughts.
Just sit with you. And your energy, your thoughts, your feeling, everything, your body, any symptoms anywhere, any kinks, any trepidation, are you rushing? Okay, just do that. It's a form of meditation.
Yes.
Or go for a walk and just let your mind wander on whatever.
As we're discussing
Make it,
meditation,
in other words, make it work for you.
yeah.
Don't feel like you're boxed into a certain way of doing it, because that will make it not fun.
Okay.
Be open to the possibilities of doing it differently.
I want to meditate. So to be less overwhelmed and live a happy life, I hear meditation, I hear nutrition, and moving the body. I think these are 3 things that each one of us should be doing every single day.
Yeah, because they contribute
Absolutely.
to your overall well-being, health, mental health, and health. Self-care is healthcare.
And also we're in control of every decision we make. So think twice before you make any decision. I think by applying these tools, each one of us can live a happy life.
But don't forget about checking in.
Of course.
Don't forget about perspective.
Right, yeah.
Don't forget about honoring yourself. What do you really want? What are your whys? Because even when you feel like you're between a rock and a hard place, so there's a book written by Viktor Frankl, who is a Holocaust survivor, called Man's Search for Meaning. And when he was on the trains going to one of the camps, he didn't have a lot of choice in that matter, right? But he said what got him through that was he had the choice on how he was going to deal with it. And he chose to look for meaning. I'm going to look for the meaning in this. Is there meaning in this? Is there purpose? And if we have meaning and purpose in our life, that's a lot. And I think a lot of people are looking for it, but they don't know what it is for themselves because they're not taking the time to sit with themselves and ask, is that what I really want? Do I really want that big corporate job? Or is it soul sucking? Do I want to stay in this relationship? Or is it draining me out? Say, I got to change things. But what am I going to do? How do I want to do that? So you look at your options. It might be really downscaling your lifestyle. But if you bought freedom to a certain extent, or contentment, or satisfaction, or you feel like you're honoring yourself, I don't know. I think it's better to do that than sell yourself out, no matter what.
The only takeaway I have from today is wear the flip-flops and the hoodie.
That's it?
Yeah.
We need more conversation.
Yeah, we need more conversation. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. We really thank you for all
honestly,
the insight.
My pleasure too, and I could just keep going and going and going because I get it. So I'm in the moment. I know I've got a headset on and a mic, but I'm very tuned in to you too and everybody else in the room. No prescribed speech. I'm just going with what's coming up and trying to answer the questions to the best of my ability. But I'm in the moment. So for me, this has felt like 10 minutes.
Yes.
It really
same for us.
does
Same for
not.
us,
It's energized me. I'm going to walk out of here not drained. I'm going to walk out of here with a big smile on my face, going, wow, what an amazing day.
Well, Ali and I tend to have that effect on people. So
You do? Well, I've only met you. I know Ali very well. Ali's got amazing energy.
Yes, he does.
Ali's
Absolutely.
a great person. He's one of the
He
most magnificent people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's honestly,
Thank
you are a beautiful soul. Yeah. So it's it's about being lit up.
Yes.
Marianne, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a very, very busy person.
Yeah.
To book you, there's a long list there, but thank you for taking the time for this podcast. And we're gonna be adding your details like in the podcast. So if someone is seeking your services, they know where to find you. You have your Instagram page, you have your website. So we're gonna be putting all the information for our viewers to find you.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really?
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.